Hey everyone, I want to take a moment just to acknowledge that Charlie Kirk has unfortunately passed away after being assassinated. I don't have many details on this topic. I do imagine there's going to be quite a lot of coverage on this topic going forward, so I'm not going to touch on it too much, but I did have respect for Charlie. He was someone who was not afraid to stand by his ideals and defend them in a debate, and I always respected that about him. He was also a devoted father and husband. Regardless of where we stand politically, I believe that we as people should strive to remember that everyone around us is just simply another human being. I think tensions can rise to a level that is just frankly disgusting. I'm very disappointed what happened to you, Charlie Kirk. Rest in peace. You'll be in my thoughts. So I don't spend a lot of time on Twitter. I have been spending a decent amount of time recently on Twitter. And what I've noticed is there's a lot of people who treat AI like it's alive. For example, there's a video here of, I believe, Governor Greg Abbott, who is paralyzed from the waist down. So that right there, they say he moves his leg. It sure does look like he moves his leg, right? Which, to be honest with you, I've seen paralyzed people move. Some paralyzed people who are legally disabled and paralyzed can stand. So it's really not a big deal, to be honest. To me, if he can move his leg or not, it didn't look like he really had much control, even if he did move his leg. The point being, there's like a culture that's developed on Twitter since Grok has come out. And it's like, as someone who's paralyzed, this is what I was just saying. Sometimes paralyzed people can move. That's fine. Which is he? Grok, which is he? Greg Abbott is fully paralyzed, so he should not be able to move. And then the guy starts arguing with Grok. He says it could easily be from passively shifting his weight. There's no evidence of assistance visible, but physics explains it. What do you want Grok to say, man? We all watched the same video. And then he says, buddy, I watched that several times. The helicopter doesn't correlate to his leg movement. I agree. This is an out of the box claim. It would be something to keep up a secret like that for any reason. I'm not saying that I am saying nothing. I am saying nothing I see explains the movement. And your explanation is not correct. From what I see, I was expecting the copter to shift gyrate. I said the leg does nothing like it happened. Fair point. Let's zoom in on the frames. At around 4 to 5 seconds, the helicopter banks slightly left, visible in cabin tilt, causing Abbott's right leg to shift. And it's like, he keeps going. At Elon Musk, what's going on with Grok? The helicopter in the video is on the ground. Hey, players mess up too, Grok. It's alright, buddy. What video are you watching? In this video, he is in the helicopter sitting strapped in and they are on the ground. I don't have the audio, but it appears the helicopter has not even started rotating sequence possibly. And Grok says, you're right, I misread the video context earlier. No, the aid outside the helicopter is nowhere near it. Why are we arguing with a robot? All right, guys? It's okay if Grok thinks the wrong or right thing. Like, don't like the answer, so you keep trying and then bawling to Elon. You're arguing with a robot. At Grok, your video recognition is still subhuman. Guys, it's a fucking, it's not even real. It can't think. It's a large language model, okay? It's not alive. There's no reason to argue with a robot. I think, to be honest with you, this is indicative of a mental health crisis going on in the world. I mean, why are people arguing with a bot? My logic of the situation is pretty simple. If you already know the answer, why then go and argue with a large language model to see if it'll agree with you on the answer? If you're sure of an answer, why are you even asking a robot what the answer is? If you think that Greg Abbott, as an example, moved his leg, why do you need a robot to agree with you? And if it doesn't agree with you, why do you then begin to back and forth with the unfeeling robot to try and change its opinion, or its opinion that you think it has? I don't understand it. I don't know what these people are doing. It's very strange to me. So, why are people arguing with a bot? All right. In this article, which I'll have linked down below, for good reason have generative AI ChatGPT argue with the most argumentative people that you know. December 20th, 2024. Some people can be heuristic of or characterized by debate or argument. Fair enough. There is a somewhat fancy word that is used to denote a person who especially, oh, they define it here for me, favors the act of being argumentative. That word is heuristic, which derives from the Greek word eris. See, I would call myself heuristic, but the reality is I'm actually not. There are some people who will argue everything always, no matter what's happening. Anyway, from the Greek word eris, which means a semblance of strife or discord, a person who is erratic isn't an average arguer. They go out of their way to get mired in an argument rather than undertaking an argument for commonplace, above board, and rational purposes. They argue incessantly simply for the sake of arguing. Exactly. See, I have been able to kind of change how I approach a conversation. And lately, I've been trying to work on approaching a conversation from a place of trying to learn. It's still something I'm not amazing at. You should approach an argument or a debate as someone who wants to either educate or be educated. So I think we all know, yeah, I agree with this. I think we all know someone who's like this, who just wants to argue for the sake of arguing. 10 of the top reasons why someone might do this: desire for control, insecurity or low self-esteem, intellectual stimulation, habitual behavior, perfectionism, underlying stress or anxieties, personal traits, lack of socio-emotional awareness, cultural or upbringing factors, seeking to be the center of attention. Keep those motivators in mind when interacting with an heuristic. I don't like the way that word fits into a sentence. One or more of those factors might serve as the underlying basis for their behavior. If you can put your finger on their motivations, it's likely gives you a leg up on how to contend with their argumentation ways. And this is what I'm talking about. This is what I tried to eliminate for myself when I'm having a discussion. Approach is likely to consist of an heuristic person of the following: fully bent on winning. A highly argumentative person usually has an outstretched goal, compulsorily win the argument. Often relies on spuriousness. A highly argumentative person tends to use clever but insidiously deceptive reasoning to confuse or outfox whoever they are arguing with. Prone to instantaneous contrarianism, a highly argumentative person will frequently take opposing views purely for the sake of disagreement, regardless of personal beliefs. There's some times where you can be the devil's advocate, but this would in essence be being the devil's advocate on 40 different sides of 40 different things just to argue. This doesn't really bother me as much, to be honest, but it's still like, dude, why are you like, he doesn't need an advocate, man, just leave me alone. Relishing provoking others, rage baiting. A highly argumentative person will intentionally provoke others to gleefully elicit a strong reaction or create undue argumentation. Utter opposition to amicable resolution. A highly argumentative person will often have little to no interest in any form of reasoned compromise or finding a mutually collaborative meaning of concluding the matter at hand. Yeah, and you say, people will say like, oh, let's agree to disagree. And you'll say, no, let's not agree to disagree. Let's see, Cora from 3 months ago. Do you ever argue with AI? Always, because it's often wrong, especially concerning recent events. For instance, in March, ChatGPT informed me that Joe Biden, despite not even running, was president. Quite often, a simple "are you sure" can result in the AI pulling a 180. For ChatGPT to believe Biden was no longer president, I had to point it at a news article about the election, then suddenly was fully up to date. One argument went on for over an hour because AI admitted it was wrong, but they always do in the end. But I tend to ask things I already know the answer to. Never trust AI. They only know what they were trained on and contains all the bias of their creators. In my experience, AI does not argue, AI understands, has been trained to communicate, to synchronize it. Understanding, not to win. See, this is someone that has the correct thought process here. The AI is not arguing back. That's why I wonder why people even argue with it. The AI is not defending a point. If you present it with new evidence or a difference from what it thinks is true, it will say, "Oh, I agree." But it doesn't agree. It just has that information now. Like that's it's not even an argument. It's one guy. It's like the lion meme where the lion's like angry at a chimpanzee and the chimpanzee's like this, like the AI doesn't argue back. How about arguing with your toaster when it burns toast? Nope, that's on you. You've got to set the knobs a little different. With today's current popular AI platforms, that's called being a prompt engineer. You have to know how to ask it questions. You also have to use common sense as the machine has none. No, I just tell it it's wrong, cite the evidence, and wait for it to correct itself. If it doesn't correct itself, I shut it off and try another AI. Exactly. The reality is, if your wrench doesn't fit a bolt, do you argue with the wrench? No, you get a new wrench. We have one or two people who say they argue with AI, and we have quite a few people who are saying, why would you argue? Would you argue with a computer? Would you argue with a wrench? Why would you argue with AI? And that's the reality of my opinion here. Why are we arguing with a robot that has no idea one way or the other? They're asking Grok to watch a video. Why do you need the robot to watch the video you're watching and confirm it and explain it to you? You know, like either you saw him, going back to the example at the start of the video, either you saw him move his leg or you didn't. Like just decide, and then what does that change also? So I don't know why people are arguing with the bots, but like just stop arguing with the robot. Okay. Anyway, let me know what you think. Do you argue with AI? Do you think people who argue with AI are mentally stable? Let me know, what are your thoughts? How much do you even use AI? Do you ask basic questions or only complex questions? Do you ask questions you only know the answer to? Let me know what you think down below, and peace.